we're back, and we're in the attic of the house of Nicholas Copernicus, perhaps the most famous astronomer. Sorry, Italians, Galileo and all those guys, and Bruno and all those fellows. But Copernicus is the man, isn't he, when it comes to talking about the Earth going around the sun.
Exactly,
And,
he was the first person in the modern times to talk about it, to invent this revolutionary breakthrough idea.
Yeah.
And the people you mentioned, they actually lived after him, so they were following his footprints, his way of thinking, and developing and basing on this invention of Copernicus.
On his concept.
On his concept.
And we're in the attic of the house. We're at the very top of the house. This is where they would have been storing things, I mean, and all that. When was Copernicus alive? It's a long time. 600 years, something like that?
1473. He was
1473,
born here.
folks.
1473, so 15th century.
Yeah, 15th century. If you're living in the United States, it's a long time ago. Canadians too. Australians, even longer for you guys. No, it's a long, long time ago. And yet, here the house is, still solid.
Still standing.
Yeah.
As I told you, Torun was not destroyed, so also his house is also preserved, which is really great.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And you can see it.
And we'll see a lot of places like this as we go around, Torun, that are just as they used to be. Well, some more crumbling, but like the castle, I suppose. Yeah, some of those things.
Yeah, it's just the castle that was destroyed, that it was the will of the Turunians, so it was not the result of any war.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
But more about Copernicus now, because we're lucky that they let us come in here and just gave us a free rein to walk around. What are the important things about the house? You bring tons of people through here, so what do you think are the main points?
So apart from the fact that Copernicus was born here, and that is his house, so we also right now have a museum dedicated to his life and work, which is here. So we can find out plenty of information about his life, about the discovery. But what is also interesting is just the structure of the house itself. Because it's a very typical structure for every merchant's house in Torun. So,
because his father was a big-time merchant.
Yes, his father was a very successful merchant from Krakow that came here to from Krakow to Torun to develop his business, which is very interesting. Most probably originated his surname, the merchandise with which he was trading. That was most probably, as you can guess,
copper.
That's right.
Ta-da!
Ta-da! So
you can lead a monkey to
tricky.
water, but you can't make him eat the banana, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Don't agree with that.
So actually, if you see the whole house, you can see that business was actually very profitable. So the family was also not poor, and thanks to that, Copernicus got good education, to which this couple of rooms that we are in right now, at the upper floors of this part of the house, are dedicated to.
About his education. It says here he left Torun in 1491, and
he went to studies first to Krakow.
Right.
First to Krakow, so 5 years of his studies in Krakow.
Wow. He's a busy guy. Yeah.
But that's not everything. He then studied several years, altogether 12 years of studies, later in Bologna, Padua, and Ferrara.
Well, let's face it, if you're not smart after 12 years of academic study, there is something wrong with you. I mean, we could all be Copernicus. No, we couldn't. If we spent 12 years, if we spent our whole life.
I think he was a really bright person.
There's like one guy.
I think it was
about
him.
There's like one guy, yeah,
so,
exactly. Like Newton. I mean, there's like one. Newton was a little bit of a weirdo. But was Copernicus, like Isaac Newton was a very strange person by all accounts. Was Copernicus a kind of a normal guy? Did he have a family, or what was he like?
Actually, Copernicus could not have a family because he was also a canon. He belonged to the church officially because his uncle...
he was a clergyman. He was
a clergyman, exactly. He was a clergyman, so as a
Catholic.
clergyman...
Catholic clergyman.
So as such, he couldn't have a family, So there are no descendants of him. So no family,
Well, good. Okay, well, I want to ask you something about Copernicus. Was he Polish? Was he German? And how do we know? But don't answer yet. Stick with us on Poland Daily Travel. We have more exciting things to come, including the answer to that question, which I don't know. I hope you do. Okay, stay with us. What can you say about Torun that hasn't been said before? Well, it all depends on how you look at it. At any rate, we're going to give it our best shot to be a little different. Torun is perhaps the prime example of Gothic architecture in the world. Its medieval quality is virtually pristine. And fitting this setting, it's also the birthplace of Nicholas Copernicus, who taught us that the Earth goes around the sun, and not the other way around. I'm not going to say that this is everything you always wanted to know about Torun, but were afraid to ask, but it's close to it. This is certainly a city not to be missed. It's a pleasure to be enjoyed slowly and deliberately. It would take a couple of weeks to see everything in this city and really soak in the atmosphere, and that would still be pushing it. But we are doing our dead level best to show you the greatest hits of Torun. So sit back and enjoy the next few episodes as Torun is unveiled before your eyes. I'm Will, this is Poland Daily Travel, and we love to see you watching. Like us on YouTube, and subscribe if you really, really like us. So join us for Poland Daily Travel does Torun. Well, this is amazing. Look at this. Not only Copernicus had a magic touch. Look at this. I could stay here for hours. The feeling of power is incredible. Look at that. My own virtual book. Actually, this is a facsimile of a book of the time, The History of the World. But over here, what do we have here? These are instruments of some kind, or copies, right?
Exactly. These are precisely the copies of the instruments that Copernicus was using. Quite simple instruments, as quadrant, that was used for measuring the angle of the sun above the ground, and an astrolabe that was used for calculating the distances between the stars.
Ah, so this was very instrumental in his research into the Earth and the Sun and the movement of the planets, right?
Also, but more important was his knowledge of mathematics, because he actually got to that invention inspired by some mistakes in the mathematical calculations.
Intuitively, he sort of leapt there?
Yes, he actually got to that idea quite early, yes. And then years later, when he did his observations in the castle of Olsztyn, that actually...
In the castle of Olsztyn?
Castle of Olsztyn, right.
Ah,
yeah.
I didn't know that. He was there in Olsztyn
he lived
too.
there, and he did his observations. So there are the sketches of his of the arch that went like the sun, the shadow of the sun,
showing
the
the
rays of the
sun,
the movements of the sun.
Yeah.
So that was very important.
Yeah.
So what is really inspiring and impressive about Copernicus is that he couldn't rely on very complicated instruments because the telescope did not exist at that time. Yes. So these simple instruments and his knowledge of mathematics led to that great historical discovery, invention of the heliocentric theory, that the Earth goes around the sun.
Heliocentric theory.
Heliocentric theory.
Nice word. And so this is an astrolabe. It measures the movement of the stars?
Yeah.
Is that right? Okay. And this is a?
Quadrant.
Quadrant, which does?
Measure the angle of the sun.
Measures the angle of the sun.
It's very simple because there is a shadow and it's falling on these angles. So
it's kind of like a sundial or something like that, in a way. I mean, using the sun and shadows.
Sort of, you could say so. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we have a guide helping us the whole time. This is a guide in Polish. Okay.
Polish guide.
Stay with us. Poland Daily Travel. We haven't found out yet. Oh, that was loud in my ear. We haven't found out yet whether Copernicus was German or Polish, or what the actual relationship was there. It's an interesting story. Stay with us. And in the next installment, we will find out. We're in Nicholas Copernicus's house here in Torun, the great Gothic city of Europe. Stay with us.